welcome to a special post-Thanksgiving episode of the Ohana Chef. I'm your host, Ross Chun, and I know a lot of videographers put out YouTube videos about how to cook the perfect turkey, how to carve the turkey, how to roast or barbecue or even brine a turkey. So I think that's all been covered pretty well. What I'm going to do this evening is show you how my mother used to make a special dish with the leftover turkey. And this is something that my brothers and I and my father and mother all enjoyed for many days after Thanksgiving. It's something that she always called juk. And I didn't know if that was a real name or if that was just something that she shorthanded it and called for us as we were younger. Until recently, my son Evan was coming back from Indonesia, and on China Airlines they actually served him a small bowl of what they called a juk. And it's a very simple dish to make, but it takes a lot of patience. And the main reason is because you have to boil the bones of the turkey for a minimum of 2 hours. I've been boiling ours for 3 hours and they're just about right. And once you get the broth done, it's really a simple matter. There are a few ingredients that you can add. One of them is ginger. And many Asian dishes have ginger root in them. It's something that I grew up with, but I was always kind of shy about ginger root in front of my friends. If they came over and they saw this odd vegetable on our counter, they asked what it was, they asked a lot of questions, they thought it looked funny, and so I kind of avoided explaining it to them. But no one should be embarrassed about the cultural foods they grew up with. So I want to make sure that we point out that we're going to be adding ginger root into this dish. Other than that, you'll have the broth that you've worked on for 3 hours boiling in a regular sized Dutch oven is what I'm using. And then you'll have about 2 cups of rice. And then you can garnish it with red leaf lettuce. That's what my mother used to do. And that's really it. You add soy sauce, you add a little bit of sesame oil, just a little bit because the flavor of sesame oil is pretty strong. And once you boil the rice, you actually overboil it. And that means that you boil it until it's soft and the little kernels almost burst open. And that's how it becomes almost a porridge, and that's when it's best. So I'm not going to make you watch as I boil the bones. In fact, it's been going for a couple of hours. I'll just mention a couple of the things that I'm doing. One of them is, once I get the bones fished out of the broth, I'll add the rice, and then I'll add the ginger. And I'll mix it in until the flavors sort of melt together. And then what I'm going to do is let it cool down, and I'll garnish it with red leaf lettuce, and then I'm also going to add a little soy sauce. Now in our house, my daughter is, she has a sensitivity to gluten, so we use gluten-free soy sauce. It tastes the same, it's a little bit more expensive, but I'll be adding a little gluten-free soy sauce and a little bit of sesame oil at the end along with the lettuce garnish. So why don't I get started? And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set the rice aside, and I'm going to set aside the red leaf lettuce. And then what I'm going to do is probably just break off a portion of the ginger. And you know, I've seen a number of videos where the chefs say, don't worry about shaving off the outer skin. It's kind of like a papery finish. I think I'll be fine taking a little bit of it off because I don't like it to show up in the broth. So I'll just trim a bit off here of the skin. Just so it's not prominent in the broth. And you know, another way of doing this, probably a better way of doing this, is with a potato peeler. But I'm going to do it with this utility knife and do my best to get a lot of that brown skin off of the ginger root. Now that that's done, I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to grab a microplane. And this is going to help me to get the ginger fine so that it can be added into the broth without being too prominent. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to microplane, I would say 2 tablespoons of the ginger root. And the ginger root is very fragrant. So even as you're working with it in the kitchen, your kitchen atmosphere takes on a very fresh, fragrant aromatic. And it reminds me of the holidays. You always want to be careful with a microplane, because you go the wrong way and you can really skin up a knuckle. It's almost like working with a mandolin. Chefs are always saying, be careful with the mandolin, always use the guard. And just the warnings are scary. You know, the other thing about growing up in an Asian American household, there were a lot of customs that we practiced that were unusual. And this is back in the 70s. And so I was always sort of hesitant in inviting friends over the holidays. Now it's very commonplace, and actually I'm very proud of my heritage and the practices that have become part of our family traditions. So I always like to point out some of these practices. One of them at Thanksgiving is to use the turkey bones to make this soup. Another tradition, which is not a cultural tradition, is eating lots of black olives. In fact, I already went through 2 cans of them this season, and the best part about the olives as a kid was to get the pitted kind where we could put them all on our fingertips and run around with them, and my mother could not stand us doing that, but we did it very frequently. Let's see. Okay, so I have got the ginger grated. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to cut the red leaf lettuce. Just the ends that are sort of frilly, and it makes a nice garnish on the juk. So there we go. Alright, so I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to come back in about 10 minutes. That's how long it's going to take me to separate the bones from the broth. So I'll be working on that. We'll come back and then I'll show you how I put the rice in, and then the final step is going to be to serve it up. So just a few minutes. So I actually overboiled the rice for about 30 minutes. So each grain burst open, created a very firm but sort of porridge textured soup. And I've added the red leaf lettuce, a little soy sauce, and some black pepper. My father always put black pepper in there. And that's how my mother created an after Thanksgiving treat for us that we enjoyed for many, many days after the holidays. It's something that I remember and I always think of fondly when we have Thanksgiving. Thank you very much for joining us. Mahalo.